Maria Santos had always been different from other girls in her small village outside Manila. While her friends played with dolls, she was learning to shoot bottles with her grandfather's old rifle behind their wooden house. Her grandfather, a veteran of World War II, saw something special in her steady hands and sharp eyes. He taught her patience, breathing control, and how to read the wind. Nobody in the village took her seriously when she announced at 15 that she would join the military. The Philippine Army recruitment office was buzzing with young men when Maria walked in wearing her best dress and carrying a small bag. The recruiting sergeant looked up from his paperwork and almost laughed. She was barely 5 feet tall, with soft features and a quiet voice. He assumed she was there to ask about her boyfriend or brother. When she stated she wanted to enlist, several soldiers in the room actually chuckled. The sergeant handed her the basic forms, thinking she would change her mind once she saw what military life involved. During basic training, Maria faced constant skepticism from both instructors and fellow recruits. The physical training was brutal, with long runs in the tropical heat, obstacle courses that seemed designed for much taller people, and combat exercises that left everyone exhausted. While she struggled with some physical aspects due to her small frame, she excelled in areas that surprised everyone. Her marksmanship scores were consistently perfect, even with weapons she had never handled before. She could remain motionless for hours during surveillance exercises while others fidgeted and gave away their positions. The real test came during advanced sniper training. The course had a notorious reputation for breaking even experienced soldiers. Out of 30 candidates who started, typically only 5 or 6 would graduate. The training took place in the mountains of Luzon, where candidates learned to survive in harsh conditions while maintaining their shooting skills. They practiced in rain, extreme heat, and complete darkness. Maria not only completed every exercise successfully, but often performed better than candidates with years of military experience. Her instructors began to notice something unusual about Maria's abilities. During one exercise, she successfully hit targets at distances that challenged even seasoned marksmen. Her breathing technique was flawless, and she seemed to have an intuitive understanding of how weather conditions affected bullet trajectory. When other students were struggling to hit targets at 800 meters, Maria was consistently hitting targets at over 1,000 meters. The chief instructor, a grizzled veteran named Sergeant Major Cruz, started paying special attention to her performance. After graduation, Maria was assigned to a special operations unit that handled sensitive missions in the southern regions where insurgent activity was high. Her commanding officer, Captain Rodriguez, was initially skeptical about having a female sniper in his unit. He had requested experienced male operatives and felt that Maria's assignment was some kind of administrative mistake. He planned to keep her in support roles rather than active combat positions. The unit's first mission with Maria was supposed to be a simple reconnaissance operation. Intelligence reports indicated that a group of insurgents was using an abandoned village as a supply depot. The plan was for the team to observe and gather information about the group's movements and numbers. Maria was positioned on a hillside overlooking the village, while the rest of the team moved closer for detailed surveillance. What happened next changed everything. The reconnaissance mission turned into an active firefight when the team was discovered by insurgent sentries. Captain Rodriguez and his men found themselves pinned down by heavy gunfire from multiple positions within the village. The insurgents had superior numbers and knew the terrain better than the military unit. Radio communications were breaking up due to the mountainous terrain, and calling for backup would take hours. From her position 900 meters away, Maria could see the entire battle unfolding. Through her scope, she identified insurgent positions that were invisible to her pinned-down teammates. Without waiting for orders that might not come through the faulty radio, she began systematically eliminating threats. Her first shot took out a machine gunner who was keeping the team pinned behind a stone wall. Her second shot eliminated a sniper who was moving to flank Rodriguez's position. The insurgents couldn't figure out where the shots were coming from. Maria's position was perfectly concealed, and she was using a suppressor that made her weapon nearly silent. She continued methodically removing threats, prioritizing targets that posed the greatest danger to her teammates. Each shot was carefully planned and executed. She accounted for wind speed, distance, and even the slight movement of targets who thought they were safely hidden. Within 30 minutes, Maria had eliminated 12 insurgents without missing a single shot. The remaining insurgents fled the village, thinking they were being attacked by a much larger force. Captain Rodriguez and his team were able to advance safely and complete their mission objectives. When they regrouped, Rodriguez was amazed to learn that Maria had been responsible for their successful extraction from what could have been a deadly situation. However, when Rodriguez filed his after-action report, his superiors found the claims about Maria's performance difficult to believe. 12 confirmed kills in a single engagement, all at extreme range with no ammunition wasted, seemed impossible for any soldier, let alone a recently graduated recruit. Some officers suggested that Rodriguez was exaggerating to cover up tactical mistakes during the mission. Others wondered if Maria had received unofficial assistance from other units in the area. The doubt about Maria's abilities became a pattern after subsequent missions. Each time she performed exceptionally, questions arose about the accuracy of the reports. Fellow soldiers in other units heard stories about the small female sniper who supposedly never missed her target, but many dismissed these as exaggerated military folklore. The skepticism was particularly strong among officers who had never worked directly with Maria. Maria found the constant questioning of her achievements frustrating, but tried to focus on doing her job effectively. She knew that her performance spoke for itself, even if others doubted the reports. Captain Rodriguez became one of her strongest supporters, having witnessed her abilities firsthand. He made sure she received the most challenging assignments, knowing she could handle them better than soldiers with much more experience. The situation reached a breaking point during a major operation involving multiple military units. Intelligence had located a significant insurgent leadership meeting in a remote compound. The operation required precision strikes to eliminate key targets while minimizing civilian casualties in nearby areas. Maria was assigned as the primary sniper for the mission, working alongside snipers from other units who had years of combat experience. During the pre-mission briefing, some of the veteran snipers openly questioned whether Maria belonged on such an important operation. They suggested she might panic under pressure or miss critical shots that could compromise the entire mission. The mission commander, Colonel Herrera, had heard the stories about Maria, but had never seen her in action himself. He decided to test her abilities during the final training exercise before the actual operation. The test was designed to simulate the exact conditions they would face during the real mission. Multiple targets would appear at various distances and times, requiring split-second decisions about priority and timing. Other snipers would be taking the same test, allowing for direct comparison of abilities. Maria performed flawlessly, achieving perfect accuracy while completing the course faster than any of the veteran snipers. Despite her perfect test performance, doubt lingered among some officers and soldiers. They attributed her success to luck or suggested that the test conditions were somehow easier for her. The skepticism had become so widespread that it was affecting unit morale and Maria's reputation throughout the military. Something needed to be done to either prove or disprove the claims about her extraordinary abilities. Unknown to most people, including Maria herself, every mission and training exercise was being carefully documented by military intelligence. Her performance was being recorded and analyzed as part of a broader study on sniper effectiveness and training methods. These secret records contained detailed information about every shot she had taken, including range, conditions, and accuracy measurements. The data painted a picture of abilities that were truly exceptional, even by elite military standards. The stage was set for a confrontation between perception and reality, between the doubts of skeptical officers and the documented truth of Maria's remarkable military service. The major operation against the insurgent leadership compound was scheduled for dawn on a Tuesday morning. Maria spent the previous evening checking and rechecking her equipment, as she always did before important missions. Her rifle was cleaned and calibrated perfectly. Her scope was adjusted for the expected range and weather conditions, and she had calculated wind patterns based on meteorological reports. She felt confident and ready, despite knowing that many people doubted her abilities. Captain Rodriguez briefed the sniper team one final time before they moved to their positions. The compound they were targeting sat in a valley surrounded by hills, providing excellent vantage points for marksmen. Intelligence reports indicated that at least 15 high-value targets would be present for the meeting, including several insurgent commanders who had been responsible for numerous attacks on civilian targets. The mission required precise timing and perfect coordination between multiple sniper positions. Maria was assigned the most challenging position, nearly 1,200 meters from the target compound. The distance was at the extreme range for her weapons system, and environmental conditions included swirling winds caused by the valley's geography. Other snipers were positioned closer to the target, but with less complete views of the compound. Her assignment was to provide overwatch and eliminate any targets that escaped the closer positions. As the team moved into position under cover of darkness, Maria noticed continued skepticism from some of her colleagues. Two veteran snipers, Sergeant Lopez and Corporal Reyes, had been particularly vocal about their doubts. They had been assigned positions closer to the target and seemed to view the mission as an opportunity to prove that Maria's reputation was undeserved. They made comments about how they would handle the real work while she watched from her distant position. The compound came alive at sunrise as insurgent leaders began arriving for their meeting. Through her scope, Maria could see vehicles approaching from multiple directions, carrying men who matched photographs in their intelligence briefings. She reported her observations to the mission commander while tracking the movements of potential targets. Her communications were clear and professional, providing valuable intelligence about the number and positions of insurgents in the compound. When the order came to engage, the coordinated attack began flawlessly. Snipers in closer positions began eliminating guards and securing the perimeter of the compound. Maria's role was to provide support and handle any targets that attempted to escape toward the hills behind the compound. For the first few minutes, everything went according to plan, with targets being eliminated systematically and no insurgents managing to flee the immediate area. Then the situation changed dramatically. Intelligence reports had underestimated the number of insurgents present, and a significant security force had been positioned in the hills surrounding the compound. These additional insurgents began attacking the sniper positions from behind, turning the hunters into the hunted. Sergeant Lopez's position came under heavy fire from insurgents who had approached through a ravine that wasn't visible from his location. Maria could see the entire developing situation from her elevated position. Through her scope, she watched as insurgents moved to surround Lopez's position, carrying weapons that would easily overwhelm a single sniper. The radio communications were chaotic, with multiple units reporting contact and requesting assistance. Lopez was calling for immediate support, but the closest friendly units were too far away to provide timely help. Without hesitation, Maria began engaging the insurgents who were threatening Lopez's position. Her first shot eliminated an insurgent who was carrying a rocket-propelled grenade launcher, preventing him from using it against Lopez's concealed position. Her second shot took out a machine gunner who was setting up to provide covering fire for an assault on Lopez's location. Each shot required precise calculations due to the extreme range and the fact that targets were moving quickly through difficult terrain. The insurgents couldn't determine where the supporting fire was coming from, which created confusion and slowed their attack on Lopez's position. Maria continued systematically eliminating threats, prioritizing targets based on the immediate danger they posed to friendly forces. She was firing at ranges that exceeded the normal capabilities of her weapon system, requiring her to compensate for bullet drop and wind drift with mathematical precision. Within 15 minutes, Maria had eliminated 8 insurgents who were attacking Lopez's position, allowing him to reposition safely and continue his mission. But the threats kept coming from multiple directions. Corporal Reyes's position was also being attacked by insurgents who had moved through a different approach route. Maria shifted her focus to support Reyes while maintaining awareness of potential threats to other friendly positions. The battle continued for over an hour, with Maria providing critical support to multiple sniper positions under attack. She eliminated threats at ranges varying from 800 to 1,400 meters, adapting to changing wind conditions and target movements. Her ammunition supply was running low, forcing her to make every shot count even more than usual. She was also operating without a spotter, requiring her to handle all calculations and observations independently. During a brief lull in the fighting, Maria received a radio message from Colonel Herrera, who was monitoring the battle from a command post several kilometers away. He had been receiving reports about her performance from the various sniper teams she was supporting. The reports described shooting that seemed almost impossible given the conditions and distances involved. Herrera requested confirmation of her ammunition expenditure and target engagement numbers. Maria's response was matter-of-fact and professional. She reported 26 rounds expended with 26 confirmed eliminations, all at ranges exceeding 800 meters. She provided brief tactical assessments of the remaining threats and requested permission to reposition to better support the ongoing mission. Her calm demeanor and precise communication contrasted sharply with the chaotic radio traffic from other units still engaged in heavy fighting. Colonel Herrera initially thought there might be an error in Maria's report. 26 consecutive hits at extreme range, under combat conditions, while supporting multiple threatened positions, seemed beyond the capabilities of any single sniper. He requested that other units confirm the eliminations Maria was claiming. The confirmations came quickly from grateful soldiers whose lives had been saved by her precise shooting. The mission concluded successfully, with all primary targets eliminated and minimal friendly casualties. The insurgent leadership meeting had been completely disrupted, dealing a significant blow to enemy operations in the region. However, the most significant impact was on the perceptions of those who had witnessed Maria's performance during the battle. Sergeant Lopez, who had been one of her harshest critics, publicly thanked Maria for saving his life and the lives of his team members. He described her shooting as the most impressive display of marksmanship he had witnessed in 15 years of military service. Corporal Reyes echoed these sentiments, admitting that his previous skepticism had been completely unjustified. Despite these testimonials from fellow soldiers, doubt about Maria's achievements persisted at higher levels of command. Some officers suggested that the chaos of battle might have led to inflated claims or misidentified targets. Others wondered whether Maria had received assistance from other units that hadn't been properly reported. The pattern of skepticism continued, even in the face of overwhelming evidence of her exceptional abilities. The situation was made more complicated by the fact that Maria's performance was consistently better than established military standards for sniper effectiveness. Training manuals and doctrine were based on average performance levels that she exceeded so dramatically that her achievements seemed statistically impossible. Officers who had never worked with her directly found it easier to question the reports than to accept that one soldier could be so far superior to established norms. Maria began to feel frustrated with the constant questioning of her service record. She had dedicated herself completely to military excellence and had consistently performed at the highest levels under the most challenging conditions. The suggestion that her achievements were somehow fabricated or exaggerated felt like a betrayal of her commitment and sacrifice. Captain Rodriguez continued to support Maria and fight the growing skepticism about her abilities. He submitted detailed reports documenting her performance and requesting that she receive appropriate recognition for her service. However, his efforts seemed to make little difference in changing the opinions of senior officers who had already made up their minds about the impossibility of her claimed achievements. The tension came to a head during a meeting of senior military leadership where Maria's service record was being discussed. Several colonels expressed doubt about the accuracy of reports from her unit, suggesting that claims about her performance were being exaggerated for propaganda purposes. The discussion became heated, with officers taking sides based on whether they had worked with Maria directly or only heard second-hand accounts of her abilities. Colonel Herrera found himself in the uncomfortable position of defending reports that he himself found difficult to believe. He had witnessed enough of Maria's performance to know that she was genuinely exceptional, but the scale of her achievements was so far beyond normal expectations that even he sometimes wondered if all the reports were completely accurate. The doubt was affecting unit morale and creating divisions within the officer corps. The controversy was also beginning to attract attention from military personnel in other branches and even from civilian government officials who oversee military operations. Stories about the female sniper with impossible accuracy were spreading throughout the military community, generating both admiration and skepticism in equal measure. Something would need to be done to resolve the questions about Maria's service record once and for all. Unknown to the officers debating Maria's achievements, a solution to the controversy was already available in the form of classified records that had been maintained since the beginning of her military service. These records contained objective data that would definitively prove or disprove the claims about her extraordinary abilities. The question was whether anyone would have the authority and motivation to access these secret files. General Patricia Valdez had been following the controversy surrounding Maria Santos with growing interest and concern. As the first female general in Philippine Army history, Valdez understood the challenges that women faced in proving themselves in military service. She had experienced similar skepticism throughout her own career and recognized the patterns of doubt that seemed to surround Maria's achievements. However, As a senior officer, she also needed to ensure that military records were accurate and that no one was receiving credit for accomplishments they hadn't actually achieved. The controversy had reached Valdez's attention through official channels when several colonels requested a formal investigation into Maria's service record. They argued that the claims about her performance were so extraordinary that they undermined the credibility of the entire military reporting system. If one soldier could achieve results that seemed impossible based on established training and doctrine, it raised questions about the accuracy of all combat reports and performance evaluations. Valdez decided to conduct her own preliminary review of the situation before ordering a formal investigation. She requested briefings from officers who had worked directly with Maria, as well as those who had expressed skepticism about her achievements. The testimonials she received painted two completely different pictures of the same soldier, depending on whether the officer had witnessed her performance firsthand or was relying on written reports and second-hand accounts. Captain Rodriguez provided the most detailed account of Maria's capabilities during his briefing with General Valdez. He described specific missions where Maria had performed at levels that exceeded his expectations based on military training standards. Rodriguez emphasized that he had initially been skeptical about having a female sniper in his unit, but had become one of Maria's strongest supporters after witnessing her abilities in combat situations. The captain provided specific examples of Maria's performance that demonstrated not only exceptional marksmanship, but also tactical intelligence and decision-making abilities under pressure. During one mission, she had identified and eliminated a sniper who was threatening a civilian evacuation convoy, making the shot at a range of over 1,100 meters in challenging wind conditions. Rodriguez stressed that he had personally confirmed the elimination and the distance involved. Colonel Herrera offered a more measured perspective during his briefing with General Valdez. He acknowledged that Maria's performance was clearly exceptional, but admitted that some of the reported achievements seemed to push the boundaries of what was physically possible, given the limitations of her weapon systems and environmental conditions. Herrera suggested that while Maria was undoubtedly skilled, some reports might have been affected by the fog of war or measurement errors. On the other side of the debate, several officers presented their concerns about the accuracy of Maria's reported achievements. Colonel Santos argued that accepting such extraordinary claims without thorough verification would set a dangerous precedent that could lead to inflated reporting throughout the military. He suggested that Maria might be a skilled marksman whose achievements had been exaggerated over time through retelling and embellishment. Major General Cruz raised concerns about the impact of the controversy on military morale and discipline. He pointed out that other snipers and soldiers were beginning to question why their own achievements seemed modest compared to Maria's reported performance. Some units were experiencing problems with soldiers who felt their contributions were being overlooked in favor of sensational stories about one individual's supposed superhuman abilities. General Valdez realized that the controversy was becoming more than just a question about one soldier's service record. The debate was creating divisions within the officer corps and affecting the morale of military units throughout the region. A definitive resolution was needed to maintain unity and ensure that accurate standards were being applied to all personnel evaluations. After reviewing all the available information through official channels, Valdez realized that she needed access to more comprehensive data about Maria's service record. The reports she had been given contained summaries and conclusions but lacked the detailed documentation that would be necessary to verify specific claims. She began making inquiries about what additional records might be available through military intelligence channels. Her inquiries led to a meeting with Colonel James Mitchell, the director of the Regional Military Intelligence Office. Mitchell was responsible for maintaining classified records on military operations and personnel performance data that was collected for analysis and strategic planning purposes. When Valdez explained her need for detailed information about Maria's service record, Mitchell's response was both surprising and enlightening. Mitchell revealed that Maria's performance had been under continuous monitoring since the early days of her military service. The monitoring wasn't the result of suspicion or doubt, but rather because her exceptional abilities had been identified during training as worthy of detailed study. Military intelligence had been collecting comprehensive data about her performance to better understand the factors that contributed to such extraordinary marksmanship abilities. The monitoring system included detailed records of every shot Maria had fired during training and combat operations. Advanced technology was used to measure distances, environmental conditions, and accuracy results with scientific precision. The data collection was part of a classified program designed to improve sniper training methods and identify the characteristics that distinguished exceptional marksmen from average performers. Colonel Mitchell explained that the records contained objective measurements that would definitively resolve questions about Maria's achievements. However, accessing the classified files would require special authorization due to the sensitive nature of the intelligence program. The data had been collected without Maria's knowledge as part of broader research into military effectiveness and training optimization. General Valdez requested immediate access to the classified records, emphasizing the urgent need to resolve the controversy that was affecting military morale and unit cohesion. Mitchell agreed to provide access but warned that the information contained in the files might be surprising even to officers who had worked closely with Maria. The scientific analysis had revealed aspects of her performance that weren't fully captured in standard military reports. While waiting for authorization to access the classified records, General Valdez decided to interview Maria directly to get her perspective on the controversy surrounding her service. She arranged a private meeting where Maria could speak freely about her experiences and her feelings about the ongoing debate over her achievements. Valdez was curious to see how Maria was handling the pressure and skepticism from fellow officers. Maria appeared calm and professional during the meeting with General Valdez, but there were signs of the stress she was experiencing due to the constant questioning of her abilities. She expressed frustration that her dedication to military service was being overshadowed by debates about whether her achievements were real. Maria emphasized that she had always been honest in her reports and had never claimed credit for anything she hadn't actually accomplished. During their conversation, Maria provided detailed explanations of her shooting techniques and the mental processes she used to achieve consistent accuracy under challenging conditions. Her descriptions demonstrated a deep understanding of ballistics, environmental factors, and the psychological aspects of precision shooting. General Valdez was impressed by Maria's technical knowledge and her methodical approach to her military duties. Maria also revealed that she had been keeping personal records of her own performance, including detailed notes about each mission and training exercise. She had photographs, sketches, and written observations that documented her experiences from her own perspective. These personal records could provide additional verification of her achievements, independent of official military reporting channels. General Valdez asked Maria directly whether she had ever received assistance or support that might not have been properly documented in official reports. Maria's response was immediate and emphatic. She had always operated independently and had never claimed credit for achievements that involved significant contributions from other personnel. She acknowledged that she had received standard military support and equipment, but emphasized that her shooting performance was entirely her own. The meeting convinced General Valdez that Maria was being truthful about her achievements and that the skepticism she was facing was unwarranted. However, Valdez also understood that her personal opinion wasn't sufficient to resolve the broader controversy. She needed objective evidence that would convince even the most skeptical officers about the accuracy of Maria's reported performance. Authorization to access the classified records finally arrived 3 days after Valdez's meeting with Maria. Colonel Mitchell arranged a secure briefing session where General Valdez could review the comprehensive data that had been collected about Maria's military service. Mitchell warned that the briefing would take several hours due to the extensive nature of the documentation that had been gathered over several years of monitoring. The classified records were maintained in a secure facility that required multiple levels of security clearance to access. General Valdez underwent additional background verification before being allowed to review the files. The level of security surrounding the records indicated that the intelligence program involved was considered highly sensitive and that the information it contained was regarded as strategically valuable. As General Valdez prepared to review the classified records, she realized that she was about to see the most comprehensive and objective analysis of a soldier's performance that had ever been compiled by Philippine military intelligence. The data would either confirm Maria's extraordinary abilities or reveal that the reports about her achievements had been exaggerated or fabricated. Either way, the truth would finally be established definitively. The stage was set for a revelation that would resolve the controversy and determine whether Maria Santos was genuinely one of the most exceptional soldiers in Philippine military history or simply the subject of exaggerated stories that had grown beyond recognition through repetition and embellishment. The classified records held the answers that everyone had been seeking. The secure briefing room was equipped with advanced computer systems and multiple monitors that displayed charts, graphs, and statistical analyses. Colonel Mitchell had arranged the data presentation to provide General Valdez with a comprehensive overview of Maria's performance record, starting from her basic training and continuing through her most recent combat operations. The scope and detail of the information was immediately impressive, demonstrating the sophisticated level of monitoring that had been conducted. The first section of the briefing covered Maria's performance during sniper training, where the monitoring program had begun. Advanced sensors had been used to track every aspect of her shooting, including breathing patterns, heart rate, muscle tension, and eye movements. The data showed that Maria's physiological responses during shooting were remarkably consistent, indicating an unusual level of natural ability combined with exceptional mental discipline. Her accuracy rates during training had been measured with scientific precision, using laser-guided systems that could determine impact points to within millimeters. The record showed that Maria had achieved a 98.7% accuracy rate during training exercises, compared to the 85% rate that was considered excellent for professional snipers. Even more remarkably, her accuracy had improved steadily throughout the training program, reaching near-perfect levels by graduation. The breathing and heart rate data revealed another aspect of Maria's exceptional abilities. During shooting exercises, her heart rate would decrease to levels that were typically associated with deep meditation or sleep. Her breathing would become so controlled and regular that monitoring equipment had initially malfunctioned, unable to detect such minimal chest movement. These physiological characteristics allowed her to achieve stability that was virtually impossible for normal shooters. Colonel Mitchell explained that the monitoring had continued during Maria's operational assignments using satellite tracking systems and advanced ballistic analysis software. Every shot she had fired during combat operations had been recorded and analyzed, providing objective measurements of distance, environmental conditions, and accuracy results. The technology involved was classified, but represented the most advanced battlefield monitoring capabilities available to military intelligence. The combat performance data was even more extraordinary than the training results. Maria had fired 847 rounds during 23 separate combat operations over a period of 18 months. Of those 847 rounds, 834 had resulted in confirmed eliminations, giving her an operational accuracy rate of 98.5%. The average engagement distance had been 987 meters, with the longest confirmed elimination at 1,847 meters during a mountain operation. General Valdez studied the data with growing amazement and disbelief. The performance levels documented in the classified records exceeded anything she had imagined possible for a human marksman. The consistency of Maria's performance across different weather conditions, times of day, and stress levels seemed to indicate abilities that bordered on superhuman. She asked Colonel Mitchell to explain how such extraordinary performance was physically possible. Mitchell directed Valdez's attention to a detailed analysis of Maria's shooting technique that had been compiled by military scientists and ballistics experts. High-speed cameras had been used to record her shooting process in extreme detail, revealing several factors that contributed to her exceptional accuracy. Her muscle control was remarkably precise, allowing her to make minute adjustments to weapon positioning with mathematical accuracy. The analysis also revealed that Maria had developed an intuitive understanding of ballistics that allowed her to make accurate calculations about bullet trajectory, wind drift, and target movement without conscious mathematical computation. Brain imaging studies conducted during training exercises showed unusual activity patterns in areas associated with spatial reasoning and motor control, suggesting that her abilities might have a neurological basis. Most significantly, the record showed that Maria's performance had been achieved without any technological assistance beyond standard military equipment. She was not using advanced scopes, special ammunition, or modified weapons. Her achievements were the result of natural ability, intensive training, and exceptional dedication to her military duties. The suggestion that her performance was somehow artificially enhanced or fabricated was definitively disproven by the scientific analysis. The psychological evaluation section of the records provided additional insights into Maria's exceptional abilities. Testing had revealed that she possessed unusual levels of concentration and stress resistance that allowed her to maintain peak performance under extreme pressure. Her ability to remain calm and focused during life-threatening situations was measured at levels that were unprecedented in military psychological testing. General Valdez reviewed specific examples of Maria's combat performance that had been particularly controversial among skeptical officers. The incident where she had eliminated 26 insurgents during the compound operation had been recorded by multiple monitoring systems. Satellite imagery confirmed the locations of targets. Laser range finding verified distances, and ballistic analysis confirmed that all eliminations had been achieved by Maria's weapon system. The records also contained audio recordings of Maria's radio communications during combat operations. Her voice remained calm and professional even during the most intense firefights, providing clear tactical information and maintaining communication discipline that was exceptional even by elite military standards. The recordings demonstrated that her performance was not the result of panic or adrenaline-fueled aggression, but rather careful calculation and precise execution. Colonel Mitchell showed General Valdez comparison data that placed Maria's performance in context with other snipers throughout military history. Her accuracy rates exceeded those of legendary marksmen from previous wars, and her consistency under combat conditions was unmatched in any available military records. The analysis concluded that Maria represented a statistical anomaly whose abilities were genuinely unique in documented military history. The briefing included testimony from military scientists who had studied Maria's performance as part of research into human potential and optimal training methods. These experts confirmed that her abilities were real and represented the upper limits of human marksmanship capabilities. They recommended that her techniques be studied and incorporated into advanced training programs to improve the performance of other military personnel. General Valdez realized that the classified records completely vindicated Maria and demonstrated that the skepticism she had faced was entirely unjustified. The objective scientific analysis proved beyond any doubt that her reported achievements were not only real but actually understated in some cases. The monitoring systems had documented performance that exceeded even the most positive accounts from fellow soldiers. The implications of the classified records extended beyond Maria's individual case. The data suggested that military training programs might be capable of producing soldiers with abilities far superior to current standards. The research into Maria's performance could lead to breakthroughs in training methodology that would benefit the entire military organization. Her case demonstrated that exceptional human potential existed and could be developed through proper identification and training. General Valdez immediately understood that she had a responsibility to clear Maria's name and ensure that her achievements received proper recognition. The scientific evidence was overwhelming and undeniable, making it clear that Maria had been subjected to unfair skepticism based on the assumption that her performance was impossible. The classified records proved that exceptional human ability was real and deserving of respect rather than doubt. After completing her review of the classified records, General Valdez arranged a meeting with the senior officers who had been most vocal in questioning Maria's achievements. She presented them with a comprehensive summary of the scientific analysis, carefully explaining the methodology and conclusions while respecting the classified nature of some information. The evidence was so compelling that even the most skeptical officers were forced to acknowledge its validity. Colonel Santos, who had been one of Maria's harshest critics, publicly apologized for his skepticism and admitted that he had been wrong to doubt her achievements. He acknowledged that his assumptions about the limits of human marksmanship had been proven incorrect by objective scientific analysis. Other skeptical officers followed his example, recognizing that they had made unfounded accusations against a soldier whose performance was genuinely extraordinary. The revelation of Maria's true capabilities had immediate effects throughout the military organization. Her techniques were incorporated into advanced training programs, and she was assigned to develop new methods for improving sniper effectiveness. Military scientists continued studying her performance to better understand the factors that contributed to such exceptional abilities. Maria received formal recognition for her outstanding military service, including medals that had been delayed due to the previous skepticism about her achievements. More importantly, she was finally able to serve without the constant questioning and doubt that had overshadowed her earlier career. The classified records had provided the objective proof necessary to establish her reputation based on scientific fact rather than speculation. General Valdez used Maria's case as an example of the importance of supporting exceptional military personnel rather than doubting their achievements based on preconceived assumptions about human limitations. The incident led to changes in military evaluation procedures, designed to ensure that extraordinary performance would be recognized and supported rather than questioned and discouraged. The story of Maria Santos became a powerful example of how scientific analysis could resolve controversies and establish truth in situations where subjective opinions had created confusion and conflict. Her vindication demonstrated that exceptional human ability deserved recognition and study rather than skepticism and doubt. The classified records had revealed not only the truth about one soldier's remarkable achievements, but also important insights into the potential capabilities of properly trained military personnel. Years later, Maria continued to serve with distinction, her reputation firmly established by the scientific evidence that had finally silenced all doubts about her extraordinary abilities. She became a symbol of excellence in military service and an inspiration to other soldiers who aspired to achieve their maximum potential. The controversy that had once threatened to overshadow her career had ultimately led to greater recognition and understanding of her truly remarkable talents. The classified records remained a testament to the importance of objective measurement and scientific analysis in evaluating military performance. Maria's case proved that exceptional individuals could achieve results that exceeded normal expectations, and that such achievements deserved recognition rather than skepticism. Her story became a powerful reminder that human potential should be celebrated and studied, rather than doubted and dismissed.